Some women have an undeniable presence. They walk into a room and instantly bring light warmth and a magnetic energy that draws everyone in. Others, well, the moment they leave, it feels as if the light dims and the air grows heavier. Don't get me wrong, this isn't about bitterness or casting blame on anyone. It's about clarity, a clear-eyed understanding that comes only with experience. If you've lived long enough, and I'm certain you have, you've seen this pattern play out time and again. Not everyone who flashes a smile at you is truly a friend. Not every hand you reach for is there to lift you up. Some hands are subtly there to pull you down. Life is simply too short and too precious to waste your time, your energy, and the peace you've fought hard to maintain on people who drain you, emotionally confuse your mind, or leave you doubting yourself. Especially those who mask their true colors behind a dazzling exterior of charm, beauty, or carefully polished social graces. Today we're going to uncover 6 unmistakable signs of toxic women traits you absolutely cannot afford to ignore. This isn't about judgment, it's about wisdom. It's about learning how to recognize who truly deserves a seat at your table and who's only there to take a piece of your bread without offering anything meaningful in return. As the ancient philosopher Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." I would add, and just as much on the company you keep. So let's sharpen that clarity together. Are you ready? Let's dive in. First and foremost, she's always the victim. This is a red flag that many men miss until it's far too late. She doesn't just occasionally see herself as the injured party. She always claims that role. It doesn't matter if it's a stranger in line at the grocery store, her best friend of 2 decades, or the string of ex-husbands in her past. Somehow, in every story she shares, she is the one who was hurt, betrayed, or wronged. Imagine sitting across from her at a cozy cafe, listening intently as she unfolds her story. At first, you might find yourself nodding along, maybe even feeling protective. She's incredibly convincing. Her words paint vivid, heart-wrenching pictures of a life filled with injustice, how misunderstood she is, how unfair the world has been to her. If you're not paying close attention, you might start thinking, maybe she just needs someone to finally treat her right. That's the subtle trap. But the longer you stay in her orbit, the more you realize this isn't about healing old wounds. It's about control. I knew a man named Tom, kind, steady, a genuinely good soul. After his divorce, he met a woman just like this. At first, he was drawn to her openness, the way she shared everything with raw honesty. She spoke about how her ex lied and deceived her, how her boss held her back because he was intimidated by strong women, and how her family always sided with her sister, leaving her feeling isolated. Tom admired her strength and resilience to push through all these hardships. But as months passed, the stories never ceased. Every narrative followed the same predictable script. Everyone around her was toxic. Every job ended unfairly, and every friendship was a betrayal. Eventually, Tom found himself trapped in a role he never agreed to play. He became either the hero constantly reassuring her she was right, or the villain if he dared to disagree, or heaven forbid suggest she take responsibility for her own actions. Here's where things get dangerous. A woman who sees herself as a perpetual victim will never accept ownership of her part in any situation. She twists every event to fit her version of the truth. And if you get close enough, you'll be pulled into that narrative as the latest source of her pain. You'll be the one who let her down, the one who never truly understood her. This cycle is exhausting and relentless. The philosophy of Stoicism teaches us a vital lesson: we cannot control others. We can only control ourselves. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But the woman who clings to victimhood refuses to accept this power. Instead, she surrenders to life's hardships and expects everyone else to carry the weight of her emotions. She will drain your energy, test your patience, and if you're not careful, steal away your peace of mind. So what can you do? First, recognize this pattern for what it truly is. Stop playing the rescuer in a story that isn't yours to fix. Refuse to take responsibility for wounds she refuses to heal. Ground yourself in reason, not emotion. Because at the end of the day, protecting your peace is one of the most powerful and loving choices you can make. Learning to spot these toxic behaviors early can save you years of heartache and exhaustion. You offer compassion. You hold firm to your boundaries, clear and unwavering. But if the stories never change, if the drama repeats itself like a broken record, you step back quietly, firmly, without guilt. Stoic wisdom teaches us that true peace is found within ourselves. And when someone drags you into their storm again and again, walking away isn't an act of cruelty, it's an act of wisdom and self-preservation. After all, can you really keep pouring water into a bucket full of holes? Now let's move to the second unmistakable sign she's addicted to drama. This isn't about the occasional flare-up we all have from time to time. No, this is something far deeper in addiction that you'll feel creeping in your gut before your eyes fully catch up. Imagine a woman whose entire life feels like an ongoing theatrical production. She's the director, the star, and the scriptwriter all at once, constantly rewriting scenes to suit her need for intensity. If things get too calm, too peaceful around her, she'll find a way to spark a fire just to feel alive again. To her, peace is a dull, suffocating silence, stability that makes her restless, even uneasy. Without realizing it, you get pulled into a never-ending loop of conflict, confusion, and emotional chaos that spins faster and faster, leaving you dizzy and disoriented. It usually starts with small things. Maybe one day she's upset because you glanced at your phone while she was telling a story, or you didn't reply to her text quickly enough. Suddenly, these tiny moments become proof that you're pulling away from her. What began as a quiet evening quietly morphs into a battle you never saw coming. You spend hours explaining yourself, apologizing for things you barely understand, and by the end you're drained, while she seems oddly energized, like she's feeding off the storm she created. Here's the thing about people who thrive on drama chaos is their comfort zone. It's where they feel most powerful. Their world revolves around their emotions, like a whirlwind dragging everyone else into the storm. From a Stoic perspective, this makes perfect sense. Seneca once wrote, "An angry man opens his mouth and shuts his eyes." This fits perfectly here. A woman addicted to drama isn't after truth or peace. She craves the rush of power that comes from stirring up emotions her own and yours. She loses sight of reason because impulse and passion blind her. She doesn't want harmony, she wants stimulation. And if you're nearby, you become the target of this relentless emotional tempest. The real danger is how easily you get caught up in the whirlwind. You might convince yourself you're the calm in her storm, the one trying to soothe and stabilize. But in truth, you're playing a part in her drama, whether you intend to or not. Over time, this chips away at your peace, erodes your clarity, and slowly steals your sense of self. You become reactive, anxious, constantly walking on eggshells, wondering what will trigger the next explosion. And when a man loses his inner stillness, he loses his greatest power. So what's the solution? Distance, not necessarily physical at first, but emotional distance. Step back. Let the waves crash without diving in to save anyone or anything. Watch from afar, but don't get swept away. As Epictetus taught, we cannot control others. We can only control our response. Sometimes the wisest choice is silent space and the refusal to engage in someone else's chaos. You are not obligated to be an actor in their drama. Your role as a Stoic man is to stay grounded, steady, and above all free. Now on to the third sign she controls through guilt. Did you know guilt is one of the most powerful psychological weapons? Scientific studies reveal that guilt activates the same regions of the brain associated with physical pain. That sinking sensation in your chest, the tight knot in your gut, it's not just in your head, it's very real. Some women, especially the wrong ones, have an uncanny ability to pull your emotional strings with precision. The third unmistakable sign of a toxic woman is her control through guilt. But this control isn't loud or obvious. It's subtle, quiet, and carefully calculated to make you question your own decisions and worth. At first, it might seem like she's just sensitive. Maybe she gets upset when you cancel plans because work demands your focus. Maybe she falls silent when you suggest taking a little time for yourself. You tell yourself she just needs reassurance, so you give it willingly. You cancel your plans, rearrange your priorities, and with each small sacrifice, you give up a little piece of yourself just to avoid that disappointed look in her eyes. You know the one I'm talking about, the look that silently says, "I thought you were different. I thought I mattered more." She never has to speak those words aloud. Her silence says enough. Her sigh carries the weight of unspoken expectations, and slowly you start to feel like you're failing her. No matter how hard you try, it's never enough. Here's the sneaky part. You don't even realize this is happening until your own boundaries have already been crossed. You're no longer making decisions based on reason or your core values. Instead, you're reacting desperately, trying to avoid that gnawing guilt that surfaces every time you choose yourself over her. And that, my friend, is how she keeps control. Guilt becomes her currency, the silent weapon she trades in. The more you pay, the more she demands, not always with words, but with moods, subtle gestures, and the careful withholding of affection. You find yourself explaining your choices more than actually making them. Fail to meet her unspoken demands, and suddenly you're cast as the villain in her ongoing drama. Bit by bit, you stop being yourself and start playing a role she scripted for you. Stoic philosophy offers us powerful wisdom here. Epictetus famously said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that's the heart of the matter. When guilt dictates your actions, you've already given up your freedom. Guilt clouds your judgment and drags you into a never-ending cycle of appeasement where your own purpose and values blur and fade. The solution isn't to fight or argue; those battles only drain your energy. The real power lies in setting clear, steady boundaries. Acting out of reason, not fear. Give what you choose to give, not what you feel forced to give to avoid punishment or disappointment. When she tries to tug at those old strings of guilt, remain still calm and unwavering. A man who knows his values and stands firm in them is free. Freedom is a treasure no amount of guilt can steal unless you hand it over willingly. Now let's talk about the fourth sign: she lacks empathy. This one often reveals itself when life throws its hardest punches. If you've lived long enough, you know it's inevitable. Life will hit you with loss, illness, failure, or heartbreak. It's in those moments, the moments of raw vulnerability, that you discover who truly stands beside you. A woman who lacks empathy, she won't be there. Or if she is, it's only because she thinks she should be, not because her heart is genuinely present. At first, you might notice small signs. You mention feeling exhausted after a brutal week, and she barely looks up from her phone, glancing at you for a fraction of a second before steering the conversation back to something trivial, usually about her own day. Or maybe you muster the courage to share something deeply personal, something that takes vulnerability and trust, and instead of leaning in with care, she brushes past it like it's just another line in a casual conversation. There's a distance there, a cold gap you can almost feel in the air between you. It's not just that she doesn't understand your pain, she simply doesn't care to. I remember a man I know, someone I deeply respect, telling me about a woman he dated after the loss of his wife. At first she seemed supportive, even compassionate. But when the true weight of his grief came crashing down, the moments when he just needed someone to sit silently beside him, to simply be there, she grew restless, uncomfortable, impatient. She didn't have the emotional depth or the empathy to meet him where he was. Instead of sharing that quiet space of pain and healing, she changed the subject, offered empty reassurances, then quickly steered the conversation back to herself, her plans, her problems, her life. Over time, he realized that being with her made him feel lonelier than he did when he was alone. This brings us back to Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. But if I may add, waste no more time hoping someone will become something they are not." Empathy isn't a skill you can teach or a feeling you can force. It's either there or it isn't. And when it's missing, you feel it deep down in your bones. A truly empathetic partner doesn't need to fix you. She doesn't even need to say much. Her presence alone, steady, calm, and sincere, reminds you that you're not alone in the struggle. On the other hand, a woman who lacks empathy can sit right next to you, yet you'll feel miles apart, emotionally stranded. If you catch yourself making excuses for why she seems distant during your hardest moments, stop. Listen to that feeling. Stoicism teaches us to accept things as they are, not as we wish they would be. And what is in this case is simple. If she can't meet you with compassion when life turns harsh, she won't be there for the storms yet to come. The answer isn't to demand more from her, it's to choose differently for yourself. Walk away if you must. Not out of anger, but out of clear, unwavering clarity. Life is far too short to be with someone who listens with their ears but not with their heart. Now let's look at the fifth sign: she's obsessed with superficial things. This one's easy to overlook at first, but over time, it drains the life right out of you. This isn't just a harmless fondness for nice things. No, this is a woman who measures her worth and yours by appearances. How big the house is, how expensive the shoes are, how many eyes are watching, liking, and applauding. She treats these shallow symbols like they are life itself, as if status and showmanship are the only things that truly matter. Her sense of value is tied to what she can flaunt, not who she really is beneath the surface. You might think, what's wrong with wanting nice things? But the problem goes far deeper than possessions. It's about what those things represent to her status approval superiority. She judges herself, and more importantly, she judges you based on what you can provide on the outside. Suddenly, you find yourself trapped in a competition you never agreed to join. It doesn't matter if you make six figures or seven, whether you drive a practical truck or a luxury car, nothing is ever enough. Someone else always has more, and she's always looking for the next rung to climb. The Stoics warned us about this mindset over 2,000 years ago. Epictetus said wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. True wealth is freedom from endless desire, not the endless chase for more. Yet a woman obsessed with status and appearance is never truly content. No matter what she acquires or achieves, satisfaction always slips through her fingers like sand. What she feels is not fulfillment, but a fleeting high, a brief moment of excitement, followed by an aching emptiness, a relentless craving for more. It's like trying to fill a broken jar. No matter how much you pour in, everything leaks right back out. She is trapped in a vicious cycle of chasing externals, forever hungry for the next trophy, the next compliment, the next sign of approval. And if you tie yourself to her, you risk being dragged along on this exhausting ride. But here's the unshakable truth that Stoicism teaches us: externals are indifferent. Marcus Aurelius called these things indifferent, meaning they neither add nor subtract from your value as a human being. What truly matters is character, virtue, how you choose to live your life, and what you stand for. A woman who can't see beyond the surface will never recognize the depth of your principles, no matter how steadfastly you live by them. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." The woman obsessed with superficial things is the poorest kind of companion, because she will never know contentment and she will never offer peace. And peace, my friend, is what a Stoic man guards above all else. If you find yourself entangled with someone who values appearances over authenticity, understand this: you will lose yourself trying to keep up. Your energy, your dignity, your peace, it will all be spent chasing shadows, illusions that never satisfy. The solution: simple though rarely easy. Walk away, not in bitterness, but in wisdom. Because a man who values his peace knows when to leave a shallow life behind. Now, the sixth sign: she can't admit she's wrong. This trait reveals itself in those small disagreements that escalate far beyond reason. She can never be wrong. You could lay out facts, clearly explain your perspective, calmly even show undeniable proof, yet she will twist the narrative to keep herself right. If facts fail her, she shifts the battlefield entirely. Suddenly, the argument isn't about the point at hand, but about how you made her feel, how you attacked her character, or how you always behave this way. The original issue is buried beneath a landslide of emotional deflection. At first, you might chalk it up to pride or a bad day. But with time, you see the pattern and unwillingness to own mistakes, no matter how small. She defends bad decisions, hurtful words, or glaring oversights until the very end. In her mind, being wrong equates to weakness, and weakness is unacceptable. The problem runs deeper than mere pride. Psychologically, those who refuse to admit fault often do so because their identity feels fragile. Accepting blame feels like a threat to their very sense of self, so they fight to protect it at all costs. But when being right becomes the goal in every interaction, something far more precious is sacrificed: growth, connection, and trust. A person who cannot acknowledge their faults cannot learn, and a person who cannot learn cannot grow. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake, or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change my mind." Isn't that the mark of true strength? It's the truth I'm after. That simple statement marks true wisdom, the ability to welcome correction as an opportunity for growth, not an attack on one's character. When you find yourself with someone who rejects this principle, you'll quickly realize you're carrying a heavy burden. Your perspective is always questioned, and the responsibility of being the reasonable one falls squarely on your shoulders. That burden is exhausting and deeply lonely. A relationship like this becomes less about genuine connection and more about control. The irony is striking. By refusing to admit fault, she loses the very thing Stoics believe gives life meaning, the pursuit of truth. When she cannot utter the simple words, "I was wrong," she's not just protecting her pride. She's shutting herself off from growth, from understanding, and ultimately from love itself. For a Stoic man, this clarity is essential. You must choose humility and truth in your own life, and you must choose a partner who embraces those values as well. Not because she's perfect, but because she's willing to be imperfect and brave enough to admit it. Without that humility, there's no true partnership, only endless competition. Life is far too short to spend it keeping score. Seneca said only time can heal what reason cannot. But in a relationship where reason never gets a seat at the table, time only deepens the wounds. The solution is clear. Seek someone who understands that saying "I was wrong" is not a weakness, but one of the highest expressions of strength. And if she cannot offer that, then it's time to walk away, not out of anger, but out of respect for yourself and the wise, peaceful life you are building. Now, the seventh sign: she disrespects your time. If life has taught us anything, it's that time is the one resource we can never get back. Money can be earned, health can be fought for, but time once gone is gone forever. That's why a woman who disrespects your time isn't merely careless, she's dangerous to your peace of mind. If you're not careful, she will steal years from you in small, silent ways, slipping past your notice until it's too late. I remember a man named Richard, a successful contractor in Houston, a man who built everything he had from the ground up. Sharp, disciplined, and respected in his profession, but his personal life told a different story. Richard started seeing a woman named Elise. At first she was charming, beautiful, warm, and skilled at making a man feel wanted. But soon a troubling pattern emerged. She was always late. 20 minutes at first, then 40. Plans would be canceled last minute sometimes because she wasn't feeling well, other times because something important came up. Sometimes she simply forgot altogether. Richard, patient as he was, let it slide. He told himself it was just life. Things get busy, people get distracted. But weeks turned into months. Richard found himself rearranging his work schedule to fit hers. He sat alone in restaurants, waited endlessly. He delayed trips, canceled fishing, weekends with old friends because Elise said she really wanted to see him that day, only to bail without a second thought. One afternoon, I sat across from him as he stared at his phone after she had stood him up yet again. He shook his head slowly and said, "Man, I feel like I'm always waiting. This is what happens when someone disrespects your time. They keep you waiting, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. If you're not careful, they'll convince you that this is normal, that you need to be more understanding, more patient, that this is simply how things are now." But a Stoic man knows better. Seneca reminded us, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. This is the truth Richard finally faced. Elise wasn't busy. She wasn't forgetful. She simply didn't value his time because she didn't value him. And Richard had allowed it by not valuing his own time first. The solution isn't confrontation or ultimatums, it's clarity. Respect your time as fiercely as you respect your life, because in reality they are one and the same. A woman who truly honors you will honor your time. She will show up when she says she will. She will treat every minute of your day as sacred, because that's exactly what it is. Epictetus once asked, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" Richard stopped waiting, and so should you. Time wasted is life wasted. Spend your time where it is truly valued. I would love to hear about your journey and your triumphs. Please hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment below to share your story, your successes, your challenges, and the lessons you've learned along the way. If you're not sure what to write, just drop a comment saying "I love this video," so I know you've been here with me today. Every comment, and share not only motivates me, but also helps our community grow stronger, learning together how to turn every challenge into an opportunity. I've lined up videos right here for you to keep moving forward on your journey of self-improvement. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on valuable content. Thank you so much for sticking around this far. I'll see you in the next video.